So what is Fight or Flight Club? Well, it could easily be called just don't freeze. When we encounter a stressful or bad situation, if you're not trained, a lot of times the freeze is the only thing you're able to do. If instead you actually practice for one response or another, you're more likely to do that response when you want to and when you need to. Any good self-preservation or self-defense instructor is going to tell you if you can avoid a bad situation, always do that. But that's not as easy as it seems at some times. There's a couple skills that have to go into that. Things like situational awareness, personal awareness, observation of things around you, and knowing what to do when you see something that's uncomfortable. In Fight or Flight Club, we start with this, because this is what's going to keep us the safest, is seeing bad things before they happen, and being able to make decisions before we have to make reactions. An action is always going to be faster than a reaction. Fight or Flight Club is the practice of self-preservation. Why do I say self-preservation instead of self-defense? There's a very specific reason. Self-preservation looks into daily practices and daily activities that are going to help keep us safe ultimately, versus having to react and defend in that last moment. That should be something you know how to do. But self-preservation is the bigger picture. So in self-preservation, you're thinking ahead of time. What kind of places do I need to avoid? What kind of actions should I be looking for in people who mean me harm? What should I be generally aware of in my daily life? Self-preservation accounts for situational awareness, personal awareness, environmental observation, de-escalation, and nonviolent communication. And these are all things we go over in Fight or Flight Club. We also take into account the classic adage, if you get into trouble and you can get away, get away. However, after teaching parkour for over 10 years, I can say it's not so easy to run away, especially if there's obstacles that you do not know how to navigate. So a third of the Fight or Flight Club program and mentality is to actually practice running away, to take practical parkour and other agility movements and techniques and apply them to daily situations. Things like navigating doorways, hallways and corridors, walls, pillars, and furniture. In our daily lives, we're surrounded by objects and obstacles. And if we're talking about truly getting away and having the ability to do that, just the same as you're going to want to practice your punch 1,000 times, or your kick, or whatever it is you're doing to defend yourself, you also should be practicing the same motions that you were going to use to get out of a situation. So the practice of flight goes everywhere from obstacle navigation, planning exits and egress, being aware of these things, and also what to do if you don't get to plan. Finally, of course, the fight. It might not always be best to run away. That's just how it is. In fact, sometimes you actually have to strike preemptively to avoid having a worse situation happen. So absolutely, in Fight or Flight Club, we do talk about fight. Things like dealing with strikes and empty-handed attacks, things like grappling, and of course, weapons. In the Fight or Flight Club video series, we're going to be sharing our go-to concepts, drills, techniques, and practices to help us become as proficient at flight and fight as possible, as well as being able to avoid those situations and see them before they happen. This is not a perfect science, and it's not meant to be. This is meant to be a laboratory where we discover what works best and what works best for us. Just because in the Fight or Flight Club series of videos, you see what we prefer as far as concepts, practices, drills, etc., doesn't mean it's going to be the best for you. The point of the practice is to practice, to get ready, to stay ready, and to do anything other than freeze.